Hi everyone, welcome. Today I wanted to talk about sovereignty and how to remain sovereign in our relationships. In my observation, looking at my own life and talking to so many people that I have a chance to talk to, I realized that so many of us get so attached to the roles that we're here to play, whether it's a partner, a husband and wife, or a parent. We really allow ourselves to drown in these roles, and then that in itself often is what complicates our relationships so much. For example, if we drown ourselves, if we give all of ourselves to another person, when we start sacrificing our own needs in order to fulfill the needs of others, we then start accumulating this resentment toward other people, and then expectations get formed. We think that if we give so much of our own joy and needs and desires and wishes up, then they should be at least doing the same. In romantic relationships, for example, it can then translate also into that sense that the other person owes us something, or that they somehow belong to us, or that we have any kind of control over them. Because we give so much, we then expect that they will give the same. We start keeping tabs and watching whether the giving is equal to receiving, etc., etc. It's really complicating the actual relationship, because it's important to understand that nobody belongs to us, nobody is ours, and by the same rules, we are nobodies, but we just belong to ourselves. So how can we remain in our relationships, which are so needed, in our roles that we've made commitments to, and at the same time remain faithful to ourselves, to the people that we actually are? Can we learn to give from overflow? Can we redefine what it means to us to be in self-care? So many people that I talk to, and of course I am always one of my own, among my own people who I study, so many of us feel guilty when we think about taking care of our own needs, when we think about pursuing our own wishes and desires. And that often, that sense of guilt and that misunderstanding of the word selfish is what then prevents us from taking care of our own needs. We think that by taking care of others, our needs will somehow get met, either by these other people or through just, we were taught that by giving, that will be enough for us. So, of course, each of us is an individual. Each of us is very unique. Even when we choose people who it seems are very much like us, each of us comes into relationship with our own baggage, our own life experience, our own wishes and desires and dreams and ambitions. So when we become one with another, when we become a family unit, for example, when we become a partnership, it's very important to remain an individual at the same time, to understand that the person with whom we are in relationship is also an individual, and that it's not surprising if sometimes their wishes or behavior or needs are not like ours, and that also they're not us, and that if they sometimes cannot understand or imagine what our needs are if we don't communicate them, that's normal as well, right? No other person can be in our head, no other person can be in our mind, no other person has had the same experience of life as we did. Even in twins, I have twin children, And I see, even though they had what seems to me very similar experience of their childhood, they've ended up being very different people, and I'm sure it's only going to increase with time. So no person in our lives is ever going to be like us. So that understanding that the other is always separate and that we are always separate, I think comes a really, really long way to not only create a sense of attraction within the couple, because we are sovereign, because we are separate, and that sense of separateness, that sense of space is what creates space to want the other, to desire the other. When we're too enmeshed, when we've become one, there is no more space to even feel the need to call out to the other. We're so drowned and we're so engulfed by that enmeshment that often we don't even feel the need. We want separateness. And of course, in our world where everyone is looking for the one and thinking that we then will become one big one, just containing the two of us, when a partner might express a need for some space, we take it personally and we take it as a rejection. So there is a lot of confusion as to what is a healthy relationship, because we come from these fairy tale and Hollywood movies idea of what a healthy relationship is. We really, and of course our parents often haven't been able to model it for us, because they also come from these enmeshed and codependent environments. With children, it's also really, really important to remember that our children are unique beings, and they come here not to please us and not to continue our family traditions, but rather to learn their own lessons and to live their own experiences. And I find that a lot of mothers and fathers at times, but particularly motherhood, is a role that we find very difficult to remember, that we're separate from these people, we're separate from our children, and that our children are separate from us. And that to give space to other people in our relationships is probably the biggest gift we can give them. And I don't mean very, very young children, of course. That's a little different. But as our children grow, allowing them to display their individuality, allowing them to say no, allowing them to have the power to express their own wishes sometimes, will serve them well in the future, when they will need to proclaim their individuality in their own relationships, in the relationships that they will be forming with other people. So really remember that you are sovereign, that your needs and wishes have place to be, and that they require respect and nourishment. And also, by the same token, understand that the other people in relationships with you are also sovereign, and that they need space and they need privacy and they need to attend to their own wishes and unique desires and space. I think that as we go into the future and we are redefining our own relationships with ourselves, I think space and distance in relationships will become more and more important, and it will no longer frighten us. We will understand that this is completely normal and healthy, and it'll actually serve us well toward developing intimacy within our relationships. A little bit of space is always a very healthy thing to do, to spend some time apart, to do things with other people, and then we can each redefine what privacy and what intimacy means to us. So you're sovereign, you're unique, and you absolutely deserve to have your needs met. Thank you for listening.